administrator's responsibility to find that school, a school for that child, and have them to come to the school, pick the child up, take them to the other school, and that school have to pay for that, and the child is to be returned to the school they're supposed to be at and get dismissed from that school. And then she went to say something else. I said, I'm not finished. School law also says. Oh, I just said, and for the rest of the semester, she avoided me. And did not speak to me.
Yeah, but that's why we have so many cases too. Like education lawyers love our school district because we're sending lots of money to the suburbs because of that code, you actually the parent has the right then to choose a school outside the district that can provide for the child. So we are paying for lots of kids to go to Lower Marion on us, and we also pay for charter school kids.
Is that just kids with IEPs?
It's if it's a case, it has to be. It doesn't have to be IEP. You can start the case with just a regular education child. The more successful cases is if you have IEP and it wasn't fully fleshed out. And the problem is, the school district not only pays for its own issues, it also picks up the tab for charter school issues.
Sure.
Yeah.
So like I mean I'm getting paid right now. I'm not trying to be funny. One of my students that I do transit services for is a case. It's a part of a case. So he gets to go to school for an extra year till he's 22 on us. Because it wasn't like processed correctly.
Yeah. On the other hand, I said this the other day that it's also people sometimes want schools to solve all the problems of society. And I think about even now where things are so bad, I mean, and you know, way too many kids in the class, you know, we're hearing ridiculous numbers of kids in classes. I mean, you know, but you think about just all the issues of poverty, you know, now we're talking about lead, you know, I mean, and that does significant damage to a child. You're talking about undernutrition, neighborhoods with, you know, food deserts, just the stress of living with that, the trauma, and then there's the trauma we inflict on them with, you know, closing their schools or moving their teachers out. There's so many issues that we deal with, that they deal with and the parents deal with, and then they come into a classroom and we want to have this myth, you know, that once they get into your classroom, you're going to teach them and they're going to learn and Greek, and then they'll, you know, there's so many issues, and somebody needs to deal with those issues, but you kind of in this bind that you say we have to teach the children who come, and we have to understand their needs. And sometimes you know, you can't interview a kid every day and say, did you eat dinner last night? Or,
Right.
you know, like, was your mom
support too.
screaming at your dad? Or,
Right.
you know, you have to take them as they come, but there's so many issues. And,
You have no support.
yeah, I mean, there's so much is put on the teachers, you know, and the principals. You know, as principals are being told, like, here's your budget, figure out how many ways you can, you know, rob Peter to pay Paul.
I think that one of the core things is class size in Philadelphia, and I think that with cities that have been neglected for so long, their school districts have really had the rug pulled out from under them a long time ago, and have been left bereft of just the basics of education. They probably need to pare things down to like no more than 15 kids in a class,
Yeah.
and you know, with an aide for every teacher. And because you know, as a school nurse, I had kids that I saw that I felt really needed services and that could have gotten services, and I would write the letter for the parent. You know, the parent to get attention, they have to write a letter to the principal. The principal has, I think, like 30 days to get back to them, and they don't count weekends for that, by the way. That's 6 weeks. And so if the parent writes the letter on September 1st, it's the middle of October before they even talk about it.
Yeah.
And then after they talk about it, they have like a couple more months to implement things or get more testing done or whatever.
Yeah.
And your kid can go through the whole school year before they decide what the child needs, and meanwhile, the kid is just floundering in class without, anything, and, you know, the teachers don't have time to follow up on this stuff, the school nurses, even when they had a full complement of school nurses, it was hard to follow up on people, and I, you know, at first I'd write the letter and I'd say, just go home and copy this, so it's not in my handwriting. I said, no, just sign it, I don't care, I don't care if they come in. And, it just seemed like sometimes the parents were just too overwhelmed to do anything, or maybe they were afraid they were gonna lose what little bit they had if they were complaining. And,
I do too. I got work with parents, but you have to do that.
It
Yeah.
Because I
varies.
advocated, like you have to advocate. Like
Yeah.
I could probably got my daughter's IEP done in like record speed time. Mostly because I'm just a parent that you don't want to have to come to school. But I'm like really for real, like this is gonna happen. But
It is, but isn't like a food chain, you know?
oh, it is, and you
Cause
have
I had
to.
this,
You
I had
have
this
to.
kid one time who had a wraparound service every single day.
Oh yeah, you do.
And a great guy, and it worked out fine. And I said, you know, like, how did, Franklin? He said, cause his mom was a bear.
Yeah,
Go into these IEP meetings and they go like, okay,
yeah.
but, you know,
And you have to
there's
help
so
parents.
many
Like,
inequalities.
right. And you have to like help
built
other
in.
parents.
Yeah.
Because I know for me, it was about not just what I did for my daughter, but how I could help other parents. So I would then be that advocate for the other parent to sit there. And even as a teacher, I would update IEPs. I had students who were dyslexic but had wrote these beautiful papers, but the IEP still said they're going to write a paragraph at the end of the year. I said, well, what's that? I said, well, we can update it. So let's put down he can write a paper 500 to 1,000 words. He can have a tangible, clear thesis statement because he did and da-da-da. And then the principal jumped in and said, well, we just take him off the IEP. No, he's still dyslexic. Like, that didn't go away. He just learned how to be a better writer by being dyslexic. But this needs to follow him to college because I get reports in college to give my students additional time for testing, additional time for assignments. That directly comes from whatever paperwork that followed them. But parents don't know that. So the whole goal is like, let's hurry and get him off this IEP so he can be normal. No, there's a whole group of kids at MIT and Harvard that have a stack of IEPs. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just went to a conference about it. Like, they were like, I have 8 IEPs, and this is how I got to school, right? And somebody worked with me, and now I'm at MIT, and I'm majoring in physics. And, you know, they teach me how to do certain things. So the thing is about information. And I find that we are terrible with giving out information. It's like a stopgap. It's like what you said. So it's a feeding frenzy. It's also like whoever the survival of the fittest. Like which parent can survive the battle to get through.
yes,
And you also gotta understand that you gotta have a flexible schedule to battle. Right? So if you're working 2 jobs, you're doing this, you can't go to these meetings and be there every day and make sure the kids whatever. But you have every right to sign an advocate to come in your place, to come and do this for you during the day. And that is like the information that, you know, needs to continuously get out. Because at the end of the day, this is nothing new. There's always like this experimentation on kids. Like children are always like the guinea pigs for new stuff, new math, new reading. Now we're gonna, instead of using the red pen on their paper because that makes them traumatized, you should use Post-its. No, it was wrong. They need to know it was wrong. You know what I'm saying? A red pen did me justice in high school. I cried over that red pen, and you know what? I fixed it. So, there. You know, no. And so that is like all these changes, like, oh, we don't need a school library because, you know, we got the free library. But there was a time when you had all these supports. Like, I remember in the late 90s, we had a partnership with Chicago Symphony Orchestra, but we were at full teachers, had all these different layers. So the partnership was easier that way. But you can't have a partnership when you have big holes in the curriculum.
We have, the time's getting on. I'm not cutting off the discussion. I'm only asking that we have 3 people who wish to speak. If you could limit your speaking to questions, minus a lot of commentary. The hour's getting late, and I don't want to keep people here too long. I got you, Dave. I see you around. So we have Dave, we have Bob, I got you, Tom. We have Dave, we have Bob K, and we have John. And then we're going to close out with some announcements, and some next steps.
Short answers.
Yeah.
Sure,
I
sure.
didn't realize it was 9 o'clock.
Dave,
This
please.
is like
I'll
women
be
talk
very
the way
brief.
women talk.
Just as an aside, we have a first and fourth grader at Boone Elementary School in Chicago, Northwest, and they're delighted with it. It's a very good school. My question has to do with how do we broaden the discussion beyond what I think the emphasis has been, beyond the question of what the public schools are doing and behaving, and et cetera, to how do we address parents who have kids in charter schools or other alternative programs? Because I'm convinced that most of them made the decision out of some desperation, not necessarily well thought out. And I don't know what success we're going to have in basic changes in the schools, in the public sector, if we can't address and move parents that are involved in the charter, private system, whatever.
I don't know how that's gonna happen, but what we are seeing is, parents in public school rejecting being charterized. We saw that with Steele moved us in a couple of years ago when parents voted overwhelmingly. And then, and actually, you're hearing a lot about Worcester because parents are really, really fighting there, and because of all the controversy that happened around it. Huey, I don't think anything's gonna happen there really, but people at Cook are still fighting. So you really are, I don't know what you can do. A lot of the parents who are in charter schools are not happy, and it is desperation, and it's really based more on like, my child was bullied, the violence back then, so. I think my optimism is based around the fact that seeing the parents say, no, this isn't gonna do it. You can't take my school and give it to me.
Okay. Thank you, Dave. Thank you for responding. Bob K.
Should we think about going back to 1840 when we and Scotland were the two most literate nations on earth? Most of the school system at that time were one-room schoolhouses averaging 250 kids,